You know what terrifies people more than failure? The realization that they've been living the same year on repeat for the last decade, the same patterns, the same excuses, the same version of themselves that they promised to outgrow. I'm not here to tell you what you want to hear. I'm here to tell you what you need to understand. 21 days from now, you could be unrecognizable to the person staring back at you in the mirror today. Not because of some miracle, not because the universe suddenly decided to favor you, but because you finally understood that transformation isn't about grand gestures. It's about the small, silent decisions you make when nobody's watching. Let me be clear about something right from the start. Change doesn't announce itself with fireworks. It doesn't wait for perfect conditions. It doesn't care about your readiness. Real change happens in the quiet moments, when you choose discipline over comfort, when you pick growth over familiarity, when you decide that the person you're becoming matters more than the person you've always been. And here's what most people won't tell you. 21 days is both nothing and everything. It's long enough to rewire your brain, short enough to maintain focus, powerful enough to shift your entire trajectory if you treat each day like it matters. I spent years observing people, watching patterns, understanding why some individuals completely transform their lives while others remain stuck in the same cycles, complaining about the same problems, making the same mistakes. The difference isn't talent. It isn't luck. It isn't even opportunity. The difference is habits. 9 specific habits that look deceptively simple on the surface, but contain the power to restructure your entire existence from the inside out. Now, before you dismiss this as another motivational talk that promises the world and delivers nothing, let me challenge you. For the next 21 days, you're going to become a scientist studying your own life. You're going to implement these 9 habits with ruthless consistency, no negotiations, no excuses. No, I'll start Monday, or I'll do it when things calm down. Things will never calm down. Life will never give you permission. You have to take it. Habit number 1, wake up with intention, not reaction. Here's what most people do. The alarm screams. They hit snooze 3 times, finally drag themselves out of bed, immediately reach for their phone, start scrolling, checking messages, absorbing other people's urgencies, opinions, problems before they've even processed their own thoughts. Within 15 minutes of consciousness, they've already surrendered control of their day to external forces. Their mind is reactive. Their energy is scattered. Their purpose is diluted. This pattern creates a life lived on autopilot. You're responding instead of creating, following instead of leading, reacting instead of choosing. And by the time evening arrives, you wonder why you feel drained, unfulfilled, like you spent the entire day busy but accomplished nothing meaningful. It's because you never claimed your day. You let it claim you. For the next 21 days, you're going to do something radically different. Before you check your phone, before you engage with the outside world, you're going to spend the first 30 minutes of your day in complete silence. No music, no podcast, no stimulation, just you and your thoughts. During this time, you're going to ask yourself 3 questions. What do I want to create today? Who do I want to become today? What would make today matter? These aren't casual questions. They're intentional programming. You're setting the frequency for your entire day. You're deciding in advance who you're going to be instead of waiting to see whose circumstances make you. Most people live their entire lives without ever asking these questions. They wake up and just exist. They go through motions. They survive instead of designing their experience. The difference between someone who transforms their life and someone who stays stuck isn't massive action. It's this morning ritual. It's the commitment to reclaim those first 30 minutes, to sit in silence while everyone else reaches for distraction, to think clearly while the world rushes into chaos, to establish your priorities before the world bombards you with theirs. I know what you're thinking. 30 minutes is too long. You don't have time. You have responsibilities. Here's the truth. You don't have time not to do this. Those 30 minutes will give you back hours of focus, clarity, and purposeful action throughout your day. They'll prevent you from wasting energy on meaningless tasks. They'll help you identify what actually matters versus what just feels urgent. And here's what happens after 21 days of this practice. You stop feeling like life is happening to you. You stop feeling like you're happening to life. Your decisions become clearer. Your priorities sharpen. Your energy stops leaking into distractions and starts flowing toward what actually builds the future you want. This single habit, waking with intention instead of reaction, will change how you experience every single day. Habit number 2, master the art of saying no without explanation. Most people are drowning in commitments they never wanted, obligations they resent, and relationships that drain them. Not because they're weak, not because they are incapable of boundaries, but because they were taught that saying no makes them selfish, difficult, uncooperative. They were conditioned to believe that their worth comes from how useful they are to others, how available they make themselves, how willing they are to sacrifice their own needs for everyone else's convenience. This conditioning creates a life of quiet suffering. You say yes when everything inside you screams no. You show up to events you hate. You help people who would never help you. You spread yourself so thin that nothing gets your best, not your work, not your relationships, not your dreams, certainly not yourself. And then you wonder why you feel resentful, exhausted, like you're living someone else's life instead of your own. For the next 21 days, you're going to practice something that will feel uncomfortable at first, but liberating over time. Every time someone asks you to do something that doesn't align with your priorities, goals, or values, you're going to say no. Not maybe, not let me think about it, not I'm really busy, but I'll try to make it work. Just no. And here's the crucial part. You're not going to explain yourself. This is where most people fail. They say no and then immediately justify it. They provide a detailed explanation. They apologize profusely. They make sure the other person doesn't feel bad. And in doing so, they open a negotiation. They signal that their no isn't really firm. They give the other person room to argue, persuade, guilt trip them into changing their answer. A true no requires no justification. Can you help me move this weekend? No. Can you join this committee? No. Can you take on this extra project? No. Your time, energy, and attention are the most valuable resources you have. When you give them away carelessly, you're not being kind. You're being wasteful. You're betraying your own priorities to maintain comfort in relationships that often aren't even reciprocal. Now, I'm not suggesting you become cold or unhelpful. I'm suggesting you become selective, strategic, intentional about where you invest yourself. There's a massive difference between generosity and people-pleasing. Generosity comes from abundance and choice. People-pleasing comes from fear and the need for approval. After 21 days of practicing firm, unexplained no's, something remarkable happens. The people who respect you will understand. The people who don't will reveal themselves. Your calendar will clear. Your mental space will expand. You'll have actual time and energy for the things that matter, your growth, your goals, your peace. And you'll realize that most of what you thought was necessary was actually optional. Most of what you thought people needed from you was actually just convenient for them. This habit isn't about becoming difficult. It's about becoming honest. It's about aligning your actions with your actual priorities instead of performing availability to please others. It's about understanding that every yes to something unimportant is a no to something that matters. And once you truly internalize that, saying no becomes the easiest thing in the world. Habit number 3, eliminate one complaint per day. Listen carefully to your own words for 24 hours. Count how many times you complain about traffic, weather, your job, other people, politics, how tired you are, how stressed you feel, how unfair things are, how much better things used to be. Most people complain dozens of times daily without even realizing it. Complaining has become their default language, their automatic response, their way of connecting with others. Here's what complaining actually does. It reinforces victimhood. It programs your brain to focus on problems instead of solutions. It attracts other complainers into your life while repelling people who are actually trying to build something. It drains your energy without changing your circumstances. It feels like you're doing something productive, venting, processing, sharing, when really you're just rehearsing your limitations. Every complaint is a declaration of powerlessness. It says, I am affected by this thing and I am incapable of changing it. Maybe that's true in a moment. But when you repeat that message 20, 30, 40 times a day, your brain starts to believe it. You begin to see yourself as someone life happens to, someone circumstances control, someone who exists at the mercy of external factors. For the next 21 days, you're going to become hyper aware of your complaints. Every time you catch yourself about to complain, you're going to stop, pause, and either find a solution or let it go completely. Not suppress it, not pretend you're fine when you're not, but genuinely decide, am I going to do something about this, or am I going to accept it and move on? This practice will feel impossible at first. Your mind has been conditioned to complain. It's comfortable, it's familiar. It bonds you with others who also complain. Removing complaints feels like removing part of your identity, part of your social connection. That's exactly why you need to do it. Because that identity is keeping you small. Those connections are keeping you stuck. When you stop complaining about traffic, you start leaving earlier or finding better routes. When you stop complaining about your job, you either improve your situation there or start building an exit strategy. When you stop complaining about other people, you either set better boundaries or remove yourself from toxic dynamics. When you stop complaining about being tired, you examine your sleep, your nutrition, your stress management. Complaints are symptoms pointing to areas where you need to take action or adjust your expectations. When you eliminate the complaint without addressing the underlying issue, you're just suppressing. But when you eliminate the complaint by either solving the problem or genuinely accepting what you cannot change, you're evolving. You're moving from passive victim to active creator. 21 days of this practice, your entire energy shifts. People notice. You become someone who focuses on solutions, someone who takes responsibility, someone who doesn't waste time lamenting what is, but instead directs energy toward what could be. Your conversations become more productive. Your relationships improve. Your mind becomes clearer. Your life starts moving forward because you're no longer anchoring yourself in what's wrong. This doesn't mean you become unrealistic or ignore real problems. It means you become effective. It means you stop using complaints as a coping mechanism and start using action as a solution mechanism. It means you train your brain to look for possibilities instead of problems, opportunities instead of obstacles, power instead of powerlessness. Habit number 4, read for 30 minutes every single day without exception. Most people haven't finished a book in years. They scroll endlessly, they consume fragments, they watch videos, read headlines, absorb information in tiny disconnected pieces. Their attention span has been destroyed. Their ability to think deeply has atrophied. Their knowledge is shallow, scattered, shaped entirely by algorithms designed to keep them engaged, not educated. This creates a population that knows a little about everything and a lot about nothing. People who have opinions without understanding, reactions without reflection, positions without principles. They're informed but not knowledgeable, connected but not thoughtful, busy but not productive. For the next 21 days, you're going to read for 30 uninterrupted minutes every single day. Not articles, not social media posts, not text messages, actual books, physical or digital, doesn't matter, but complete coherent works that require sustained attention and deep thinking. Here's why this matters more than almost any other habit. Reading rebuilds your ability to focus. In a world that profits from your distraction, focus becomes your greatest competitive advantage. Reading expands your perspective beyond your immediate experience. It lets you learn from people who've already made the mistakes you're about to make. It gives you frameworks for thinking about problems you haven't encountered yet. Reading also does something subtle but powerful. It proves to yourself that you can commit to something daily, that you have discipline, that you can prioritize growth over entertainment. Every day you read, even when you don't feel like it, you're strengthening the part of you that keeps promises to yourself. You're building trust with the most important person in your life, you. Choose books that challenge you, that teach you skills, that explore ideas you've never considered. Philosophy, psychology, business, history, biography, science. Don't just read what confirms what you already believe. Read what makes you uncomfortable, what questions your assumptions, what forces you to think differently. After 21 days of consistent reading, you'll notice something remarkable. Your vocabulary expands, your thinking becomes clearer, your ability to articulate ideas improves. You start making connections between concepts that seemed unrelated. You develop opinions based on understanding rather than emotion. You become more interesting because you're more interested in the world beyond your immediate bubble. But the real transformation is internal. Reading creates space between stimulus and response. It teaches you that not everything requires immediate reaction, that some things need to be considered, processed, understood before you form an opinion. It makes you slower to judge and quicker to comprehend. It replaces your need for constant stimulation with appreciation for deep thinking. People who read consistently become different from people who don't. Not better, not superior, just different. They see patterns others miss. They ask questions others don't think to ask. They solve problems others can't solve because they've absorbed wisdom from dozens, hundreds, thousands of people who came before them. This habit isn't about becoming intellectual or impressing anyone. It's about refusing to let your mind become a passive receiver of whatever information happens to find you. It's about actively choosing what you think about, learn about, develop expertise in. It's about taking control of your own education instead of letting algorithms and entertainment decide what you know. Habit number 5, move your body intensely for 20 minutes daily. Your body and mind aren't separate entities. They're one interconnected system. When your body is weak, stagnant, neglected, your mind follows. When your body is strong, active, challenged, your mind becomes sharper, more resilient, more capable of handling stress. Most people treat exercise as optional, something they'll do when they have time, when they feel motivated, when they've lost enough weight or gained enough shame about their current condition. They wait for the perfect moment, the perfect plan, the perfect circumstances, and while they wait, their body deteriorates. Their energy drops, their mood sinks, their confidence erodes. For the next 21 days, you're going to move your body intensely for 20 minutes every single day, not a casual walk, not gentle stretching. Intense movement that elevates your heart rate, challenges your muscles, makes you sweat, pushes you slightly beyond comfort. This could be running, lifting weights, swimming, cycling, body weight exercises, martial arts. The specific activity doesn't matter. The intensity and consistency do. Here's what 20 minutes of intense daily movement does that most people don't understand. It doesn't just change your body. It changes your relationship with discomfort. Every day you push through those 20 minutes when you don't feel like it, when you're tired, when you'd rather skip it, you're teaching yourself that you're capable of doing hard things. That discomfort doesn't control you. That you can override your immediate feelings in service of your long-term goals. This lesson transfers to every area of your life. The discipline you develop through consistent physical challenge becomes discipline in your work, your relationships, your finances, your personal development. The person who can force themselves to exercise when they don't want to is the same person who can have difficult conversations, make necessary changes, pursue ambitious goals despite fear. Physical movement also regulates your nervous system in ways nothing else can. You can't think your way out of anxiety. You can't meditate away depression. But you can move your body intensely and immediately shift your biochemistry. Exercise releases endorphins, reduces cortisol, improves sleep quality, increases mental clarity, boosts confidence, provides a sense of accomplishment that carries you through the rest of your day. After 21 days of consistent, intense movement, you won't just look different, though you will. You won't just feel stronger, though you will. The real change is psychological. You'll trust yourself more. You'll keep more promises to yourself. You'll have concrete daily evidence that you're capable of discipline, consistency, growth. You'll stop seeing yourself as someone who talks about change and start being someone who creates it. And here's the part nobody mentions. The version of you that exercises daily becomes incompatible with the version that makes poor choices in other areas. When you start treating your body with respect, you naturally start treating your time, your relationships, your career with respect. When you invest in your physical health, you become protective of your mental health, your emotional health, your spiritual health. To spiritual health. Movement isn't punishment for what you ate. It's not compensation for how you look. It's celebration of what your body can do. It's gratitude for the fact that you're alive and capable. It's an investment in being strong, energetic, resilient for all the challenges and opportunities coming your way. Habit number 6, practice 5 minutes of absolute silence daily. We live in a world of constant noise, music, podcasts, television, conversations, notifications, traffic. Our brains are bombarded with stimulation from the moment we wake until the moment we sleep. Most people can't remember the last time they experienced true silence. They avoid it. They're uncomfortable with it. They fill every gap with sound because silence forces them to confront their own thoughts. And for many people, their thoughts are not pleasant company. This constant noise serves a purpose. It distracts you from yourself, from your fears, from your unfulfilled potential, from the gap between who you are and who you could be. As long as you're stimulated, you don't have to face these things. You can stay busy, distracted, numb. For the next 21 days, you're going to sit in complete silence for 5 minutes every single day. No music, no guided meditation, no background noise. Just you in silence. You're going to notice your thoughts, not judge them, not try to control them. Just observe them like clouds passing through the sky. This practice will be excruciating at first. Your mind will race. You'll want to check your phone, turn on music, do anything to escape the discomfort of being alone with yourself. That discomfort is exactly what you need to experience. It's showing you how much you've been avoiding, how much noise you've been using as a shield. 5 minutes of daily silence teaches you something profound. You are not your thoughts. You are the observer of your thoughts. Your thoughts come and go, but the awareness observing them remains constant. This distinction changes everything. When you realize you're not your anxiety, you're the one watching anxiety arise, you gain power over it. When you realize you're not your anger, you're the one noticing anger appear, you can choose how to respond to it. Silence also reveals patterns. You'll notice the same worries cycling repeatedly, the same fears disguised as different scenarios, the same stories you tell yourself about who you are and what's possible for you. And once you see these patterns clearly, you can choose to interrupt them. You can question them. You can decide they're not truth, just habits of thinking. After 21 days of practicing silence, your relationship with yourself transforms. You become comfortable in your own presence. You stop needing constant distraction. You develop the ability to be still without being bored, alone without being lonely, quiet without being empty. This internal peace becomes your foundation. Circumstances can change, people can disappoint you, plans can fall apart, but the stillness you've cultivated remains accessible no matter what's happening externally. People who practice regular silence become different. They respond instead of reacting. They listen more deeply because they're not constantly generating their next statement. They make better decisions because they can hear their own wisdom beneath the noise of fear and conditioning. They become grounded, centered, difficult to shake because their stability comes from within, not from external validation or circumstances. This habit isn't about becoming spiritual or achieving some enlightened state. It's about developing the capacity to be with yourself without needing to escape. It's about creating space between your thoughts and your actions. It's about learning to hear the quiet voice of your intuition that gets drowned out by the constant chatter of your conditioned mind. Habit number 7, end each day by writing down 3 things you did well. Most people end their day reviewing everything that went wrong, every mistake, every awkward interaction, every unfinished task. They mentally replay their failures. They criticize themselves. They go to sleep marinating in inadequacy and then wonder why they wake up feeling defeated before the day even begins. This pattern creates a negativity bias that colors your entire perception of yourself and your life. Your brain is designed to focus on threats and problems. It's a survival mechanism. But when you reinforce this tendency by only acknowledging what's wrong, you train yourself to see life through a lens of insufficiency. Nothing is ever good enough, including you. For the next 21 days before you go to sleep, you're going to write down 3 specific things you did well that day, not vague platitudes. Specific actions. I kept my commitment to exercise even though I was tired. I had a difficult conversation I'd been avoiding. I helped someone without expecting anything in return. I caught myself about to complain and chose silence instead. This practice feels awkward initially, especially if you're not used to acknowledging your own efforts. You might think it's self-indulgent or arrogant. It's neither. It's corrective. You're counterbalancing the brain's natural negativity bias with intentional recognition of what's working, what's improving, what's worthy of acknowledgement. Writing these 3 things daily does something subtle but powerful. It trains your brain to look for evidence of your competence instead of evidence of your inadequacy. Throughout your day, you start noticing moments where you made good choices, acted with integrity, demonstrated discipline. These moments were always there, but you weren't paying attention to them. Now you are. After 21 days of this practice, your self-perception shifts. You begin to see yourself as someone who's capable, growing, making progress. Not perfect, not without flaws, but genuinely trying, genuinely improving. This quiet confidence changes how you show up, how you speak, how you handle challenges. You stop apologizing for existing. You stop second-guessing every decision. You start trusting yourself because you have daily evidence that you're trustworthy. This habit also improves your sleep quality. Instead of going to bed replaying everything that went wrong, you go to bed acknowledging what went right. Your nervous system relaxes. Your mind quiets. You fall asleep faster and sleep more deeply because you're not lying there anxious about your inadequacies. People who practice daily acknowledgement of their efforts become resilient in a way others aren't. When something goes wrong, and things will go wrong, they don't spiral into global self-criticism. They see it as one event, not evidence of fundamental unworthiness. They have a catalog of moments proving they're capable of doing difficult things, making good choices, handling challenges. This isn't about toxic positivity or pretending problems don't exist. It's about balanced perception. It's about seeing yourself accurately, both your struggles and your strengths. It's about giving yourself the same grace you'd give someone you care about. It's about recognizing that growth is happening even when it feels invisible. Habit number 8, have one honest conversation per week. Most human interaction is performance. People say what's expected, what's safe, what maintains harmony and avoids conflict. They hide their real thoughts, real feelings, real struggles behind pleasantries and superficial exchanges. They connect on the surface while remaining isolated in their depths. This creates a life of profound loneliness even while surrounded by people. You're known but not truly seen, connected but not understood, accompanied but fundamentally alone because nobody knows the real you. The one with doubts, fears, contradictions, struggles that don't fit the image you've carefully constructed. For the next 21 days, you're going to have at least one genuinely honest conversation each week. This means finding someone you trust and sharing something real, not complaining, not gossiping, not performing. Sharing actual vulnerability, admitting where you're struggling, expressing what you're afraid of, acknowledging what you need, asking for genuine help or perspective. This practice terrifies most people because vulnerability feels dangerous. What if they judge you? What if they lose respect for you? What if they use it against you? These fears keep you isolated. They keep you pretending. They prevent the deep connection that makes life meaningful. But here's what actually happens when you risk honesty. You give others permission to do the same. Your vulnerability invites their vulnerability. The conversation deepens. The relationship strengthens. You realize you're not alone in your struggles. Everyone is carrying things they don't talk about, fighting battles nobody sees, feeling inadequate in ways they never express. Honest conversation also clarifies your own thinking. When you articulate something you've been feeling but haven't said out loud, it becomes clearer, more defined. Sometimes speaking it helps you realize it's not as catastrophic as it seemed in your head. Sometimes it helps you see solutions you couldn't see while keeping it internal. After 21 days of practicing honest conversation, your relationships transform. The shallow connections naturally fall away because you stop having patience for surface level interaction. The meaningful relationships deepen because you're bringing your full self, not just the acceptable parts. You attract people who value authenticity because you're demonstrating it. You also develop the skill of discernment, knowing who deserves your vulnerability and who doesn't. Not everyone is safe. Not everyone will handle your honesty with care. But the people who do, the ones who meet your vulnerability with compassion rather than judgment, those are your people. Those are the relationships worth investing in. This habit isn't about oversharing or making every conversation heavy. It's about refusing to live entirely behind a mask. It's about having the courage to be known, even when being known feels risky. It's about building real connection in a world that's increasingly satisfied with digital imitation. People who practice regular, honest conversation become magnetic, not because they're perfect, but because they're real. In a world full of carefully curated personas, authenticity stands out. It draws people who are tired of pretending, who are hungry for genuine connection, who recognize that everyone's struggling with something and appreciate someone brave enough to admit it. Habit number 9, invest 30 minutes weekly in someone else's growth without expectation. Most people operate from scarcity. They hoard their knowledge, their time, their resources because they believe helping others diminishes them. They think there's limited success to go around, so lifting someone else somehow lowers their own position. This mentality creates a life of isolation, competition, and ultimately, emptiness. The paradox of growth is this. You deepen your own understanding by teaching others. You strengthen your own position by lifting others. You discover your own value by contributing to someone else's journey. What you give away doesn't deplete you, it expands you. For the next 21 days, you're going to intentionally invest 30 minutes each week in someone else's growth. This could be mentoring someone less experienced, sharing knowledge with someone struggling in an area you've mastered, providing encouragement to someone working toward a goal, connecting someone with an opportunity or resource that could help them. The crucial part, you're doing this without expecting anything in return. Not recognition, not reciprocation, not favors, not gratitude. You're investing purely because you can, because you have something to offer, because contributing to someone else's development is inherently worthwhile. This practice counters the transactional nature of most modern relationships. Everything has become an exchange. People help because they expect to be helped. They give because they want to receive. They connect because they need something. This creates shallow, conditional relationships. that dissolve the moment the exchange becomes unbalanced. When you invest in others without expectation, something remarkable happens. You shift from scarcity to abundance. You prove to yourself that you have enough knowledge, enough time, enough value to share freely. This internal shift changes how you move through the world. You become less grasping, less needy, less focused on what you can extract from every interaction. After 21 days of this practice, you'll notice an unexpected return, not because you were seeking it, but because genuine generosity creates its own momentum. People remember who helped them when they needed it. They remember who invested in them when they had nothing to offer. They remember who believed in their potential when they doubted themselves. But more importantly, you remember. You remember that you're someone who contributes, who adds value, who makes other people's journeys easier. This identity becomes part of who you are. It changes how you see yourself. It builds a quiet confidence that doesn't need external validation, because it comes from knowing you're genuinely helpful, genuinely generous, genuinely committed to lifting others. This habit also keeps you humble. When you teach someone, you remember what it felt like to not know. When you help someone struggling, you remember your own struggles. When you encourage someone pursuing a dream, you remember how much encouragement mattered in your own journey. This perspective prevents arrogance and maintains empathy. People who regularly invest in others without expectation become leaders, whether they seek that role or not. People naturally gravitate toward those who genuinely want to see them succeed, who share knowledge freely, who celebrate others' victories, who provide support without keeping score. This isn't about being used. You maintain boundaries, you protect your energy, you choose wisely who receives your investment. But within those boundaries, you give fully, without internal calculation of what you'll get back. Now, let me bring all 9 of these habits together, because they don't work in isolation. They compound, they reinforce each other, they create a system of transformation that's far more powerful than the sum of individual parts. When you wake with intention, you set the foundation for everything else. That morning clarity helps you identify which requests deserve a yes and which require a no. Your decision to eliminate complaints keeps your energy positive, which makes intense physical movement easier. That movement improves your focus during reading time. Reading expands your wisdom, which enriches your 5 minutes of silence. Silence deepens your self-awareness, making it easier to acknowledge what you did well each day. Acknowledging yourself builds confidence for honest conversation. Honest conversation creates authentic relationships, which gives you community for investing in others' growth. You see how they connect? How each habit supports and strengthens the others. This is why 21 days of implementing all 9 simultaneously creates exponential change rather than incremental improvement. But here's where most people fail. They start strong. First 3 days, they committed. Day 4, they skip 1 habit. Day 7, they've dropped 2 more. By day 10, they're back to old patterns, telling themselves they'll restart Monday, next month, next year. The difference between transformation and stagnation isn't ability, it's persistence through the messy middle. Days 1 through 3 are exciting. Days 18 through 21 are rewarding. But days 8 through 15, that's when most people quit. That's when habits still feel effortful, when results aren't yet visible, when the novelty has worn off but the transformation hasn't arrived. You need to understand something about change. It's not linear. You won't improve steadily each day. Some days will feel harder than day 1. Some days you'll question whether any of this matters. Some days you'll be tempted to abandon everything and return to comfort. Those days, those specific moments of doubt and difficulty, those are the days that determine everything. Not the days you feel motivated. Not the days you see progress. The days you don't want to continue, but you do anyway. Those are the days that build character, create discipline, forge the version of you that's capable of sustaining transformation. Every person who significantly changed their life has faced these moments. Nobody skips the messy middle. Nobody transforms without resistance. Nobody becomes better without battling the part of themselves that prefers comfort over growth. The difference is that some people push through anyway. They feel the doubt and continue. They notice the difficulty and persist. They recognize the temptation to quit and choose to stay. This is where you discover who you actually are versus who you've been pretending to be. This is where your commitment is tested. This is where you either become someone different or confirm you'll always be the same. I want you to think about where you'll be 21 days from now if you actually implement these 9 habits with absolute consistency. You'll wake with clarity instead of confusion. You'll have boundaries protecting your time and energy. You'll speak without the constant drain of complaining. You'll have read portions of several books, expanding your perspective and knowledge. You'll have moved your body intensely more than 20 times, building strength and discipline. You'll have practiced silence more than 20 times, developing internal peace. You'll have 3 weeks of evidence proving you can keep promises to yourself. You'll have had multiple honest conversations, deepening key relationships. You'll have invested in others, creating contribution beyond yourself. Now think about where you'll be 21 days from now if you continue your current patterns. Same morning chaos. Same mental noise and distraction. Same sedentary consumption from social media and entertainment. Same sedentary lifestyle. Same mental noise and distraction. Same sedentary lifestyle. Same mental noise and distraction. Same sedentary lifestyle. The gap between these two futures is identical. Effort applied differently. The person implementing these habits isn't working harder than the person scrolling social media, binge watching shows, complaining to friends, staying up late, sleeping in, saying yes to everything, avoiding discomfort. They're working differently. They're directing their effort toward creation instead of consumption, toward growth instead of comfort, toward intention instead of reaction. And here's what nobody tells you about habits. The first 21 days are about discipline, forcing yourself to do things you don't naturally do. But somewhere around day 15, something shifts. The habits start feeling less like work and more like identity. You're not someone trying to wake with intention. You're someone who wakes with intention. You're not someone attempting to read daily. You're a reader. You're not someone practicing silence. You're someone for whom silence is natural. This identity shift is everything, because identity drives behavior far more powerfully than willpower. Willpower is finite. It depletes. It fails under stress. But identity is stable. When something is part of who you are, you don't need to force it. You just do it because it's what you do. After 21 days of these 9 habits, you won't just have new behaviors. You'll have a new identity. Someone disciplined. Someone intentional. Someone growth-focused. Someone who keeps promises to themselves. Someone who protects their energy. Someone who invests in their development. Someone who contributes to others. This new identity then becomes self-reinforcing. The disciplined version of you makes disciplined choices. The intentional version makes intentional decisions. The growth-focused version seeks growth opportunities. You create a positive cycle where who you are shapes what you do, and what you do confirms who you are. But let's talk about what happens when you inevitably slip up. Because you will. You'll miss a habit. You'll have a day where everything falls apart. You'll face circumstances that make consistency seem impossible. This doesn't mean you failed. It means you're human. The key is how you respond to imperfection. Most people use one slip-up as permission to quit entirely. I already missed today, so I might as well start over next week. This all or nothing thinking destroys more transformation than lack of discipline. Progress isn't perfection, it's persistence despite imperfection. If you miss one habit one day, you haven't ruined anything. You've simply had one imperfect day in a 21-day period. Get back to it immediately. Don't wait for Monday. Don't start a new 21 days. Don't punish yourself. Just return to the practice. The power of these habits comes from consistency over time, not from flawless execution. Let me share something about transformation that might surprise you. The biggest changes often happen in areas you weren't specifically targeting. You start these 9 habits thinking you're improving your mornings, your boundaries, your fitness. But what actually happens is your relationships improve because you're more present. Your career advances because you're more focused. Your confidence grows because you're keeping promises to yourself, and your anxiety decreases because you're developing discipline. Personal development isn't compartmentalized. When you improve one area, genuinely everything connected to it improves. You can't become disciplined about your morning routine without that discipline bleeding into your work. You can't develop the courage for honest conversation without that courage showing up in other areas. You can't build physical strength without building mental strength simultaneously. This is why these 9 habits are transformative beyond their surface level benefits. They're not just about waking earlier or reading more or exercising. They're about becoming someone fundamentally different. Someone more aligned with their values, someone more in control of their choices, someone more committed to growth, someone more generous with others, someone more honest with themselves. And this version of you, this disciplined, intentional, growing, contributing version, this is who you've always had the potential to become. These habits aren't creating something new. They're revealing what's been there all along, buried under years of conditioning, distraction, fear, and comfort seeking. 21 days won't solve every problem in your life. They won't eliminate all challenges. They won't make you perfect or guarantee success, but they will give you something far more valuable. Proof that you're capable of change. Evidence that you can commit to difficult things. Confidence that you can override your immediate feelings in service of your long-term vision. This proof, this evidence, this confidence, these become the foundation for everything else you want to create. Because once you know you can transform yourself in 21 days through these 9 habits, you realize you can transform anything with the right approach and consistent effort. The question isn't whether these habits work, they do. The question is whether you'll work them. Whether you'll bring the same energy on day 14 that you had on day 1. Whether you'll continue when it's hard instead of only when it's convenient. Whether you'll treat this as a real commitment or just another idea you entertain briefly before returning to familiar patterns. I've given you the framework. 9 specific habits. 21 days. Clear instructions for each. The transformation is available. It's sitting right in front of you. But I can't want it for you more than you want it for yourself. I can't implement these habits for you. I can't push you through the messy middle when you want to quit. That's your work. That's your choice. That's your responsibility. So here's what I want you to consider. What would your life look like if you actually did this? If you genuinely committed to 21 days of unwavering consistency with all 9 habits, what would change in how you see yourself, how you spend your time, how you make decisions, how you show up in relationships, how you pursue your goals? And then consider the alternative. What will your life look like 21 days from now if you don't change anything? If you continue the same patterns that brought you to this moment? If you treat this like information to consume rather than a system to implement? The gap between those two futures is your choice, not your circumstances, not your past, not your resources, your choice. Your willingness to be uncomfortable for 21 days in exchange for transformation that lasts far beyond. Most people won't do this. They'll find this too demanding, too structured, too challenging. They'll prefer the comfort of familiar dysfunction over the discomfort of intentional growth. And that's fine. Not everyone is ready for change. Not everyone wants it badly enough to do what it requires. But you're still reading. Something in you recognizes this is different from the usual motivational content that promises everything and delivers nothing. Something in you knows that these 9 habits, implemented with discipline over 21 days, could genuinely shift your entire trajectory. Listen to that something, that quiet voice that's tired of the same patterns, the same results, the same version of you that keeps showing up despite your desire to evolve. That voice is your wisdom trying to break through the noise of fear and conditioning and comfort seeking. The transformation you want is available. The habits are simple. The timeline is clear. The only variable is your commitment. 21 days, 9 habits, unwearying consistency. Everything changes when you do.